So now it is time for questions from the interwebs.
Yeah. We actually have a current event question, which technically has never happened.
Well, I would say it's not. I'll explain why it's not a current event once you ask the question.
Right.
Because it's not.
Yeah, it is. But all right. What are your thoughts on the Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz fight and the Holly Holm versus Miesha Tate fight? That's UFC 196 this past weekend. Women's Bantamweight Championship, Holly Holm versus Miesha Tate. And then it's like a super fight, right?
Yeah.
A super fight, Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor, who's a champ at 145.
And here's why this is not a current events question to me. Mm-hmm. Because this is just a question about fighting. Yeah. It really is. Mm-hmm. Because, and you could say this at any time, these were good examples, and we'll be talking about these examples in 1 year, 5 years. And there's other fights that are similar examples. Holly Holm, who is a world-class kickboxer and boxer. And a very good mixed martial artist. However, not that great at jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. Not horrible. I'm not trying to bag on her because she is awesome.
Right. And a smart fighter, too.
Very smart with a great coach, great corner. Mm-hmm. She lost to Miesha Tate, who is definitely not as good of a striker, but who is better on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she's real well-rounded.
She's extremely well-rounded.
Yeah.
She's extremely well-rounded. And she's also gotten beat twice by Ronda Rousey. And the strategy in those fights that she had was awful.
In the Miesha Tate Ronda Rousey fight?
Yeah. Yes. For some reason, Miesha kept clinching and grabbing and trying to take the fight to the ground against Ronda, which was just stupid. She's clearly a better striker. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I think that might change the next time they fight. Miesha will hopefully have a smarter game plan than trying to grapple with Ronda. There's no reason for it. She's a better striker. She needs to take advantage of it.
Yeah. On the other hand, with Holly Holm, she does get the grappling going.
Yes.
And not easy. You know, Holly Holm's good at avoiding the takedowns.
Awesome at avoiding the takedown.
Man, so good. But yeah, finally does it in the fifth round. She had her at the end of the second round there. Too, yeah. But, you know, kind of, you know, the time ran out. And then, managed to, and in the fifth round, managed to get it to the ground and immediately finish.
Yeah. I mean, she managed, and it's key that you said that she managed to, like, get it to the ground because it wasn't a beautiful takedown or anything. She got in on her finally. She had gotten stuffed a couple times. It was Holly was doing a really good job of keeping her at bay. And Holly was obviously scared because even in the second round she got, once it was on the ground, it was just domination by Miesha. And then Holly didn't want to go to the ground with her again, but then she let her get in. And then, like you said, Miesha just forced that thing, kind of dragged it in an ugly way, just kind of got it to the ground. And once she got on the ground, she got her back. Boom, got her back. And then once she got her back, she got the choke in. Once she got the choke in, Holly kind of tried to flip her off. And even that was a little bit of a mistake. If Holly would have just, like, stood and shook her off, like a really good, experienced jiu-jitsu player might do. But she didn't. She flipped her over and landed on her back, and then Miesha had the choke in deep and finished her. And Miesha's been in some scraps before. She is a scrappy, tough. She's got a big heart. She fights with a lot of heart. I give her some props. I mean, so does Holly, of course. Mm-hmm. I mean, Holly went to sleep. She didn't even tap.
Yeah.
She was like, "What? No, I'm not tapping."
Yeah.
And you could see her instinctively started throwing punches at the end. I mean, into the air in a different direction because that's her training instinct. Yeah.
That's crazy how you see that all the time. Even when guys get knocked out. You ever see guys get knocked out and then start grappling with their eyes closed or with a ref or something like that, just kind of unconsciously doing it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a compliment, I would say. You know, to their skill, like that's how automatic it is.
Yeah, so automatic that she's just throwing punches at the air.
Yeah.
Even though she's asleep.
Yeah. So in this case, straight up, jiu-jitsu works, right?
Yes. Okay, we'll talk about, give us a debrief on the McGregor-Diaz fight.
See, that one, I think there's a lot of components, I think, to that. I think that...
But just give us the outlook of what happened.
Okay, yeah, they fought at 170, and Nate Diaz is either 155 or I think sometimes
he's fought at 170 before.
Yeah,
Nate, but his normal weight for fighting is 155.
Yeah, so
McGregor's normal weight for fighting is 145.
Yeah.
So he came up 10 pounds, but due to the late nature of the bout, they actually ended up fighting at 170.
Yeah. So they fight, and it was a little battle, and I think from what I saw, it was close, but I think Conor McGregor caught him like some solid ones.
Caught him a couple solid ones in the beginning, yeah.
And then it shifted, and then Nate started catching him and jamming him up, and I think that's really what did it, because he started beating him up, and then Conor went for a takedown, and that's what you do when you go for that takedown the way he did. That's when you get beat up and you go for the clinch, to avoid getting beat up.
Yes.
Even in boxing they do that. You get beat up, you go for the clinch. Yeah. So that was kind of what that kind of was, and in MMA you go for the takedown. That's kind of what it is. So he did, and that's the thing. Here comes the jiu-jitsu, right? Where Nate Diaz.
The jiu-jitsu.
So the reality is, Conor McGregor that wasn't an option for him. Where, sure, he went for the takedown, but going to the takedown is even worse now, because Nate Diaz is he's a really good jiu-jitsu guy, really good. So, and Conor McGregor, he's still working on his jiu-jitsu. It's good from what I hear, whatever, but not like Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is like levels above him.
Absolutely.
So it goes to the ground, and it really showed. So not only is Conor kind of beat up a little bit and dazed, now he's on the ground. He has to do jiu-jitsu now, which is that's a double strike on him. So of course he takes a couple more shots, and then Nate choked him out pretty quick.
Yeah, he brought in that jiu-jitsu skill. And one thing that Diaz is pointing out the whole week when they were getting interviewed and everything, he says that, I have better training partners than you. Look who I'm rolling with. And look who he is rolling with. Yeah. He's rolling with his brother, Nick. He's rolling with Jake Shields, who's a beast on the ground. I mean, he's rolling with all those little badass wrestlers, too. He's got...
And Crone.
Yeah, you got Crone up there. I mean, these guys are getting after it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so... I don't know. I mean, he trained with Gunner. McGregor trained with Gunner?
Yeah, he's good too.
Gunner's good and everything. But the thing is about the jiu-jitsu and about the training, the guys that you're training with all the time, that's the guy that you train with every day. That's what makes you good. Not the guy that comes out for a 2-week camp or a 4-week camp or a 6-week camp. That does not make you good at jiu-jitsu. It might sharpen up one or two things, but it's not the life.
Right.
It's not the deep daily grind with the masters. That's what's make you really good.
Yep.
So I think that, like I said, I mean, it's definitely showed that jiu-jitsu definitely works. And it also shows you how hard it is to get good at. How much harder it is to get good at striking. I mean, Misha, no, she was not dominating, but she was surviving on the stand-up. You know what I mean? And this is a world-class striker. I mean, she's definitely a better striker than Misha Tate is a grappler. I mean, Misha Tate doesn't have any tremendous accolades as a grappler. She's a high-level MMA grappler, but she's not a world champion grappler.
Right.
And yet, she was able to hang because striking is for the most part, from a thought perspective, is a linear thought pattern of throwing strikes at another human. Grappling is infinitely more complex. Infinitely. It's infinitely more complex. Yeah. And so you have to learn it earlier, and if you want to make something of it. I mean, because striking has an element of luck to it. I don't care what you say. Striking has, I mean, when two MMA fighters go in the cage, there's not a guy that says, hey, I can definitely knock this guy out. There's absolute luck. There's, knockouts are seldom even in boxing.
Yeah.
Where the whole object is to punch the other guy in the head and knock him out. Whereas a rear naked choke is a rear naked choke.
Yep.
It's a rear naked choke. It is a very, very assured weapon to be utilizing in those situations.
Yeah. I remember one time I was talking to Henner Gracie. He just made a real small, short comparison to, I think it was boxing. He said, the average person can walk into a boxing gym and rock someone and knock them out. He used the word and rock someone if he just swings for the fences, right? And that is possible. But jiu-jitsu, when you can't really do that. You can't really a new guy come in as a white belt and just go real hard
and somehow catch someone.
Yeah, and this one of these submission holds. So yeah, and once you learn that, and the other guy doesn't know it, and he hasn't learned it, or hasn't learned it even close to how much you've learned it, it's that easy, really. The best way to say it is you have that much control over the fight.
You do. Now, the thing is, I don't want to make like all of a sudden jiu-jitsu by itself is the all-powerful thing, because you can't discount the dozens and dozens and dozens of jiu-jitsu people that have been beaten in MMA. They've been beaten down. They've been knocked out. They've been had their shots stuffed.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt about that. But it is definitely the skill that you have to have in this day and age for mixed martial arts, for sure. I mean, without it, you get beat. And without it, what you have is UFC 1 and UFC 2, when jiu-jitsu just beats the other martial arts, whether it's wrestling, whether it's boxing, it doesn't matter. But you do have to train everything. I mean, and jiu-jitsu takes the longest to learn. There's the most to learn, so you should start with it. But you got to know how to box. You got to know how to wrestle. You got to know Muay Thai. And that's the way it is.
Yeah, and when you have that much of a discrepancy between like a certain element of people's game, like and I think jiu-jitsu tends to be the more prevalent, because a lot of times people be like, oh well, certain guys, like let's say like a Chuck Liddell or a Clay Guida, they're like, hey, these aren't. Well, actually, we'll just say Chuck Liddell. He's not necessarily a jiu-jitsu black belt, and he was champion or whatever. But the thing is, he had a wrestling background, so he had grappling. But he knew about jiu-jitsu
for sure.
Thoroughly. He knew about like where the armbar comes from, where the chokes come from, how to defend the choke, how to all these things. So knowing jiu-jitsu, saying like you need to know jiu-jitsu doesn't necessarily mean you got to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu, or you have to have the slickest, sharpest submissions necessarily. You just have to know jiu-jitsu. And if you don't know it or know very little, I'd say the chances of you getting exposed is really high.
Yeah. I agree with you.
And I think these just so happened last night that those fights exemplified that.
I agree with you.